We're just going to move on to item 1, the disillusionment to Westport Town Council. Okay, and just before we start, I would just like to just note for the record that the members of Westport Town Council object to the dissolution of Westport Town Council.
I'll second that, Claire.
Agreed.
Item 2, there's a notice of motion that I submitted. Westport Town Council calls.
Just before you go on, if we could maybe deal with item number 1 first.
Okay, perfect.
I would say, I'd say each member has a view on this, Cahirla.
Okay.
And the manager thought he might be going home early this evening, but I'm afraid he was misguided if that was the case, Cahirla. I'd like to start just on this, first of all, by congratulating the 3 councillors around this table. My Fine Gael colleague, Councillor Maguire, my Fianna Fáil colleague across the table, Councillor Mulroy, my independent colleague, Councillor Hyland, on their election to the municipal district. As the manager said, with any election, whether it's the Dáil, whether it's the County Council for Europe or for the municipal authority, it's a brave thing to do to put your name on the ballot paper. And with that, Cahirla, like the manager, I would like to just say hard luck to the candidates who were defeated. Within my own party, special hard luck to Councillor Austin Francis O'Malley, who served his location and his party extraordinarily well over the last 10 years. A very, very decent man, and I know he took the defeat very much on the chin with the graciousness you would expect from him. I'd like to also say hard luck to Councillor John O'Malley, current outgoing chairman of the County Council. John has worked very, very hard over the last 10 years. He has also been in the council. I want to wish him and his family the very best of luck. While I congratulate the 3 members who were elected, it has to be said that they have a lot of responsibility coming up for the town of Westport. I'm delighted to see that 3 members went from this town council and that the 3 were elected, because I think it's extremely important that Westport has 3 voices at the top table. For 2 reasons, right? This local dissolution of Westport Town Council, we have talked about this till the cows come home. We as a local council have taken a stand, and on this point bringing our battle to the Council of Europe, and rightly so. We made a decision, all 9 councillors around this table, to say we were looking at it about our town before our parties, and that we as a council took a unified voice over to the Council of Europe on this issue. I want to particularly thank Councillor Adams, Councillor Martin, who attended with me over there to put our case forward to representatives from over 35 countries. I'd like to thank every councillor around this table for that. The reason why these councillors at this table have a responsibility, the first is in respect to the budgets. Let's be under no illusion. As was pointed out, and despite the efforts of the AMAI or anybody, the budgets here, which were managed specifically for Westport and spent in Westport Town, will now be managed at a more central role over in County Council, at a County Council level, which will allocate funding towards the municipal authority. But it will be very important that the 3 councillors at this table now, who will be at that table, will speak up very strongly for Westport, because this is the first time ever that the rates that the businesses pay in Westport will not necessarily be spent within the town. And you can talk to any business person, any managing director of any big company in Westport, they didn't mind paying the rates on the basis that the town was in excellent shape and managed very well by the town council. So that's going to be a very, very big challenge. I think the 3 people who were elected are very capable councillors, and they would push for that, but that's the clear message that has to go out from this meeting. The second point that I'd like to make is this. In my view, I've always said that part of the big problem with this legislation is that there has to be strong urban centres, and I don't apologise for saying that. If you go down to Achill, you will see that the biggest employer in Achill is probably Allergan Pharmaceuticals. And it's because basically you need a strong urban centre to progress, whether it's enterprise or business. And that's why, don't make any apologies to the three councillors when you're looking for funding for Westport for enterprise or whatever, because there has to be a strong urban centre, which it benefits the hinterland all round. I also, would make the point that the whole question of subsidiarity, and I said it 10 times, 20 times, and I'll say it again. This legislation has been a major assault on the principle of subsidiarity. What do I mean by that? I mean about access to politics for people. This will cut out from politics a lot of people who work full time because they won't be able to be in politics. Secondly, access to politicians. For the local people out there to have access to politicians, they will have less politicians to raise their issues with, and it'll be more difficult to raise issues. Okay? So with that, I'm happy to second your proposal to note formally on the record that we object to the dissolution of Westport Town Council. Now, it's in the legislation in Chapter 2, Section 24, and it's funny to see it in one line after all the talk. It simply says, on the transfer date, each town council stands dissolved and ceases to exist. So there's very little we can do about it, but I'm proud of all the efforts of all the 9 councillors, the assistance given by everybody in this room to make that stand. And you'll be happy to hear that will be the last I'd say on the subject, because I've had quite a bit of it. At a last level, just to finish off, Cathaoirleach, if I may, on a personal level, I would like to thank very much all of the councillors who I've served with in the last 10 years for the cooperation at all times. As Councillor Hyland often says, we can have rows within the chamber, but it is like a football match. We leave our differences outside, and I can quite happily say I'd love to go for a pint with any of these people in the next few years. Okay. I also want to thank the officials, the management and staff of the council. When I became involved first in the council, it was a journey into the unknown, but at all times they have been extremely progressive. I've met councillors from other towns who might be banging their heads off the wall with some of the officials they've dealt with. From Westport perspective, they've always been progressive. If you go to them with a good project, the manager in particular is a hard nut to crack, but once you crack him and he gives a commitment to go with a good project, he will follow through. What do I say about the likes of Anne Moore, Rosemary, Claire Ryan? 3 sweethearts, 3 people who have I've had a fantastic time working relationship with them. Lorinda has nothing to worry about, I hasten to add, after saying sweethearts, but no, they're absolutely terrific. It's been an absolute pleasure. With Dermot, Patrick, Simon and all of the staff, it's been a pleasure. When I arrived in the council 10 years ago, I arrived with one child who was 6 months old. She's now 10, nearly going into secondary school, which is mad. The last 10 years on a personal level, it's had ups, it's and downs. I've set up my own business, which is great. I lost my dad, which was a very difficult time, and I'd like to thank the support for all the councillors at that time.